Hello and welcome back everybody to Amanda's Cozy Corner. I'm Amanda and this is my little reading space. This video, we are just going to be building a little bit of a last minute TBR. I have been participating in the Magical Readathon put on by G over at Book Roast. It is this wonderful, magical, very much D&D inspired readathon where you create a character and they are attending a magical academy, and so every spring and fall you have classes that you have to complete. This fall semester, our semester started in September, and as is very normal was normal for me when I was still in school, I have put off my school assignments until the very last minute because of course I have. So I have completed some of them. I'm going to pop up a handy little graphic here. This year, the prompts for my particular calling or major were very difficult for me. Some of them are very broad and easy, right? It's like, read a 5-star prediction. Okay, great. I would hope that we all have a 5-star prediction on our shelf. Or one of them was read a book that someone who doesn't read picks out for you, right? So I had my now husband pick out a book because he's not a big reader. But here's the thing, I had just not been inspired, or I found it kind of difficult to find some of the other prompts. My mood reading self just was not in the mood to follow a list this September. So we are now down to, today is September 25th, and I have 5 days left to finish this magical readathon, to finish these prompts, if I want to complete the semester and get 50 points, 50 guild points for my future use during other readathons, like next year's readathons. Here's the deal. I have ticked off a couple of these boxes, and the prompts were read a standalone, read something with a poisonous plant on the cover, the 5-star prediction, a phoenix on the cover or in the title, a book with the night sky on the cover. It is the time of year where it gets dark so quickly that you get home from work and you have 10 minutes of maybe daylight and then nothing else. So bear with me when I try to figure out this lighting situation. We have 2 more weekends before Halloween officially is here. It's been such a busy fall. So I'm so excited. I'm thrilled actually that I am even finding a little bit of time to read some of the books that I put on my autumn TBR. This is specifically why I did an autumn TBR, to give myself some extra time to read. And what I've done actually is I've already cracked the cover of Dracula. I've been listening to it on audiobook, and I'm on chapter 3 or 4 at this point, and I'm a little surprised at just how into this book I am, but also, no, I'm at the end of chapter 3, but I'm also really surprised at how quickly things are getting kind of freaky. This has, the plot progressed a lot faster than I expected it to. I've never read Dracula. I've never, I know the broad strokes of the story. I know it's a vampire myth. I know it's kind of the founding. He's the big vampire in all of pop culture. But I don't think I know the actual plot of the book at all. And so, this is it. For a classic, I'm surprised at how much I'm enjoying it. Because I'm not a huge classic reader. I've read some romance classics. I've read, a lot of Shakespeare through lit class and everything like that when I was in high school. But I haven't really read any of like the big literary classics, and I feel like I must be starting with one of the good ones because I'm enjoying it so much. It's definitely getting freaky. And we're only on chapter 3. Like, I'm 70 some pages in. So yeah, I'm gonna keep checking in. I've been listening to it on audiobook because it's on Spotify Premium. And I've been playing on my Switch some Animal Crossing and some Ooblets, which is just a cute little game that, it's like very witchy coded. You have these little friends, these little I don't want to call them monsters. They're just kind of like little helper friends, but they're like little mushrooms and like forest spirits. And I have one that kind of looks like a little Frankenstein. They have like the cutest Halloween event ever going on right now. So I've been playing that. I've been listening to Dracula. The vibes are immaculate. It's dark out early. It's spooky. I'm really loving it. So I'm going to check in a little bit, get a little further into Dracula, see if I pick up anything else. But I think I'm sticking with this one for now. Oh boy. Okay. Oh gosh. I feel like I'm out of practice with this. So it's been about a month since I have last filmed, and in that time, I haven't really read anything. I feel like I've definitely been, in this weird sort of slump in that I feel like there's been a lot going on in the last month, and a lot of it is just very personal, but also like it's stuff like professionally that I've just been very tied up at work. I haven't really had the chance to like sit down and read at night the way that I normally would. So I've been doing a lot of work outside of work, which does not help matters very much. But I did make a little bit of headway into Dracula. I'm now on chapter 19. I'm primarily listening to the audiobook, which is really good. Yeah, I think I'm in the midst of chapter 19. I'm really liking Dracula. I did not expect to like it as much as I did, but I'm really liking how the story is coming together. I like the sense of mystery. There's like this growing sense of dread that kind of happens. And even now that like we're starting to like discover more and like our main characters are coming together and the clues are adding up, it's still got you on edge because it still feels like the villain is, that Dracula is still like one step ahead. So I thought I was very close to the end of the book, but I'm not. Like I got this chunk left to go, which makes me think that there's going to be a whole lot more that happens, because I don't believe that there's there's not that much in the way of like endnotes. Like this is what's left of the story. So that's a pretty good amount. Like we're at page 276 and it ends at 420. So what, 150-ish pages left? So that's a good chunk of the book left that we have to read. I'm finding more and more that I really like these kind of letter-based novels. I found that this one is kind of like the big classic associated with like epistolary novels, right? Which is also why I wanted to read it, by the way. Also just because like the vibes is immaculate for October. I found that with like the Letters of Enchantment duology, I liked the aspect of letter writing and how you like can tell a story through letter writing and newspaper clippings and things like that. And Um, it's just a method of storytelling that I really enjoy. I like how the use of those letters is coming into play in Dracula. That is very cool. So I would highly encourage. I'm like actually bummed that like you don't hear of schools reading Dracula. I feel like I would have loved to read this in like an English class over some of the other books that we were forced to read on the syllabus. I don't know. I feel like English classes should pick books that are entertaining in this way, because I think there was enough to discuss in Dracula to make it worthwhile for like an academic class, but I also think that like part of the goal of like a literature or class or like English class, especially in high school or really this would be more high school, but like you should make like the end goal should be to like encourage kids to read, and if you're going to be forcing them to read a classic, make them read a classic that's going to make them want to read other books. I don't know, maybe that's just my take on it, but I never felt like my English classes made me want to read more broadly, that like my love of reading has always come from outside reading, because it's not like you get to read like a fantasy book or stuff like that in an English class, which kind of sucks. That would have been amazing. Yeah, I would have loved to do that. So anyway, while I'm listening to this, I'm doing it mostly on like car rides and things. And again, the audiobook, it's amazing. Like the voices are so good. I'll put the narrator's name up on the screen because that audiobook is so worthwhile. I genuinely don't like it when like men or like deep male voices try to make like sound like women, because I feel like they always kind of come off as like nasally or like whiny or like a little too like you know but this narrator does a really good job of like every character has a very distinct voice and accent, and the women that he does don't come off as too like caricature-y, they sound very like you can tell that a man is reading the book, but like at the same time they don't it's not offensive, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but it's not like it's not off-putting for me at least. So would highly recommend. Yeah, I totally understand why so many girls on booktube are like, yeah, Dracula's a great classic, read it. So what I've been like really struggling with, in addition to just having a busy life situation going on, is that I just genuinely have been in a book slump. Like I've just sort of decided that like if a book is on my TBR, it's like almost inherently uninteresting to me. Like I would much rather read anything else than the 11 book TBR that I set for myself in autumn, like my autumn TBR, which is I don't know what it is in my brain that makes me think that, because I've picked the books that I like actually genuinely want to read, but I just for some reason once they like go over onto my TBR shelf, I've lost interest. So naturally, instead of picking something from my actual shelf, I've decided to purchase 2 more books on Kindle. So one of them is called The Spell Shop. These are both very much impulse purchases, by the way. Like I did very little research into them, but I also kind of just I don't know. Sometimes like you just see a book or like an advertisement on like Instagram or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I want to read that book and I want to read it now. So that's kind of what happened to me. The first one that caught my eye that started this whole fiasco is called Blood of Hercules by, I think it's Jasmine Moss. This sounds like a school setting where our main character has found out that she has Spartan blood, which lets her go to this special school. and gets taught by all of these mythical people in Greek mythology, and it's kind of billed as like a villain gets the girl, who touched you, who did this to you sort of romance. The words dark romance are like in all caps, so I'm assuming that it's not normal YA romantasy trials sort of thing. I'm hoping that it's not too similar to a Game of Gods, or sorry, the Games Gods Play. Is that what I read earlier this year? That was very good. Like, if it does turn out to be that particular vibe, I'm cool with it. I would actually really enjoy that. That's all good. But I'm hoping this is a little bit like darker, a little bit like that. They were very like kind of insta-lovey, but there was a lot of like, I shouldn't love you this much. I want them to actually hate each other. Like, I want like I want you to like dislike each other before you like accept working with each other. Like, I want some like head-to-head action before they're forced to team up, and then I want them to like team up and fall in love, you know? And I'm cool with that happening over the course of several books. And then the other one, which is sort of another big one on BookTube and BookTok, is The Spell Shop, which from my understanding is very much a cozy not a cozy mystery, but like a cozy fantasy with a little bit of plot. I think I'm leaning towards The Spell Shop. Here's the other thing. I've been kind of hauling around Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands with me for the last week or so. So I may end up reading this one first because I feel like this one actually is on my TBR. I would be doing something that I said I was going to do, which is always a good feeling. And I'm genuinely looking forward to this book. I just, for some reason, every time I like grab it, I also grab like 7 other things, like my Switch, my knitting, my whatever. And it's like I can't multitask by like reading and doing those other things at the same time. But I am very much in the mood for a cozy fantasy. So perhaps The Spell Shop. What is drawing me towards The Spell Shop is that the synopsis always catches my eye. The fact that it's cozy fantasy, the fact that it's like, from what I understand, like a girl who has like run away from working in a library, and she like brings all of these magical books or like scrolls or whatever with her, and she opens up I think it's a jam store. I don't know, some sort of like kind of cute cottagecore vibe store. She has a talking plant apparently, from what I remember, and she's like she's on this remote island trying to like kind of avoid this political struggle. And there's like kind of a grumpy sunshine romance, if I'm remembering right. And that just like, that calls to me. That calls to me so much, and I love that. So I might end up reading The Spell Shop. I also have been like wanting to read on my Kindle again. I've been reading physically a lot, and I kind of miss my little Kindle because I feel like it's a lot easier for me to like bring to work. It's a lot easier for me to like, I can read it in bed when my husband is asleep. Like, I turn my lights off and like the stuff is backlit, so I don't have to have my like side light on and keep him up. So it's just really nice to like, I can sort of do my own thing. But I guess I should say I really have been reading a lot of manga lately, which is cool. I generally don't get the chance to do that all too often. But I've kind of figured out a good method of like timing reservations or timing book holds on Libby. So I've been getting a lot of the manga in that I wanted. So I was able to read all of the Apothecary Diaries, which is very, very cute. Highly recommend. I was able to watch the anime, How was I able to watch the anime? Was it on Amazon Prime? It was on one of the major subscriptions, but that one is very cute too, so I wanted to read the manga. I am so stoked. I hope that they make a second season of the anime, because I would love to see some of the stuff, like, kind of voice acted out that happens in the manga. It's very, very cute, very cozy. I like in the manga how, well, in all of the series, right? I like how realistic the main character is, to the point of being like a little cynical, but it's kind of refreshing to have the main character of a cozy manga be like kind of realistic instead of like head in the clouds, no cares in the world sort of thing. So that one, highly recommends. It looks like libraries have that in stock because it has been so popular. Or not in stock, but like they've been buying it. I think maybe what I'm gonna do, I will read the first chapter of Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands and The Spell Shop, and we're gonna decide between those two. So let's do that. Hey friends, it's about a month later. I've decided to call this vlog here. I am hesitant to call it a success, but I do think that I've managed to pull myself out of a pretty big reading slump, which is so disappointing because fall is definitely my favorite season, and I feel like instead of reading during the fall, which is like mostly my vibes, this year it just was not working out for me. So instead, because the days are shorter, the nights are longer, we quite literally had our first snow already. I think I showed you some video in the B-roll. We had 3 inches of snow that came down in the, early morning, evening hours, or like late evening hours, early morning hours, and evaporated. Like it melted by the time I was done with work that day. So yeah, tis the almost winter season. It is now the week before Thanksgiving. Christmas lights are starting to come up. We put ours up. I put Christmas decor out because the next couple of weeks are crazy. And as much as I love fall, and that is definitely my favorite season, Christmas is a close second. So I'm very much ready for the holiday mood. I was never a big poppy person, but the cranberry frizz, like the Starbucks cups are out. I think it's time to give in to it being winter. That said, I want to give you guys the final review on a couple of different things. So first, Dracula. I'm still technically finishing the audiobook, but I'm very close to done. And like, holy cow, do I love... It seems weird to say that I love this story, but like, this is so much better than I thought it would be. I wish that I had read this in a literature class at school, because I think I would have loved it a lot more than some of the things that we did end up reading. And it's just like, I'm more and more. I'm sitting here going like, I love stories told through letters. I love stories told through newspaper clippings. I love sort of being left out, or sort of wondering whether to trust the narrator, or just like see a story or parts of a story from a different person's perspective. Like, I just really like that. And it's starting to show a little too obviously, I think, because it occurred to me that when I was reading Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, which, by the way, 5 stars. This was a 5-star read. I don't normally give classics ratings because it's like, rating a classic just seems weird. But 5-star read. Like this, for being in a slump, I managed to find some books that I really, really love and enjoy, and it definitely helped pull me out of the slump. But I still noticed, even though I loved these books, I'm reading a lot slower these days. Like, I'm not flying through books. I'm not, like, devouring stories the way that I used to. And I think it's just a product of, like, where my life is at right now. I got a lot of things. I got a lot of work obligations that are kind of spilling over into the after hours. I have a lot of family obligations or commitments, which, you know, you can't really sit there and read while you are with your family. So it's just meant less updates, you know, longer periods between updates, more time spent reading a book, which oddly I think has actually helped me like these books more than when I've just like constantly churning through things. Like, I feel like I don't appreciate them to the same level. So Dracula, highly recommend if you have not read it yet. It's not spooky season anymore, but it's still a good, really freaking good book. Like, wow. And, you know, Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, sequels are always hard. I was a little worried that it wasn't maybe gonna live up to the magic of the first book, and I'm glad I was wrong. This is such a, I feel like I always say I was looking for a romance to develop, to go past the, you know, I like you, you like me stage. I want to watch characters work through a romance and a real relationship, without some author contriving for them to, like, not be able to be together for an entire book, or, like, you know, physically separating them because they don't know how to deal with that relationship. And that's not this. I'm so thrilled that we got to watch, you know, Emily really work through her feelings, work through whether she wanted to commit to Wendell. I'm thrilled at the storyline that's been going on, the sort of development, and the focus on sort of other aspects of Emily's life as well, kind of like showcasing her, you know, pure love of academia, and sort of how is she going to navigate that if she is with Wendell, and, like, you know, like, what other criticisms are out there in the world. And I just thought it was really cleverly done. But this is also, and I can't believe this just occurred to me, a book told through her journal. And at times Wendell writes parts of it and Emily writes parts of it, and, like, it's another one of these sort of, like, you know, pieced together narratives, in that someone is recounting the story to you later on. It's not being told in the third person in the same time. And I think that also really helped me like it. But yeah, it's very cool. I think the last time we talked, I was talking about how my family used to go to hiking in the Alps, and so it was, like, very, very easy for me to picture some of the things that they're talking about, the places and the feelings, and sort of, like, the small town local feel, but also, like, the feeling of just, you know, you don't quite belong as someone coming in from the outside, and people kind of being a little cagey and not sharing everything with you. It's a good book. I don't think it has the same vibe as a lot of romantasy or cozy fantasies. I think it exists somewhere in between, and that, I think, is a sweet spot for me. But after this, I felt myself going back into another slump, because I just could not pick a book to read. For the life of me, I was like, none of these sound interesting. It's kind of like when you look in your closet and you're like, I have nothing to wear, but it's packed from from floor to ceiling with clothes, and you're like, I have nothing to wear. I did what I always do when I feel that way, when I have nothing to wear, is you just go back and you reread something. And for me, it's kind of like you have to go back to comfort. And sometimes that means the ratty old sweatshirt, it means the garbage TV, like the Real Housewives of wherever, the produced drama. And so I went back to the Court of Thorns and Roses series. I know. I've reread ACOTAR at least twice, and then I don't continue the rest of the series, which I always feel silly for doing because that's probably my least favorite book of everything. So this time I just skipped it and went straight to A Court of Mist and Fury, and I don't think I need to really talk about this. It's such like a widely known series. I'm sure everyone who's watching this video has read it or heard about it. But, I mean, it held up. I still really like it. It's kind of like that comfort TV. It's like watching The Office. It just, you know what's coming. You know it's gonna end well. You know that Feyre is gonna end up with more powers, and yeah, she's gonna overcome everything, and like horrible things are gonna happen, but they're all gonna work out. And that's just kind of what I needed, I just needed to go back to that comfort feeling. So, yeah, I'm really happy. I read this. It did take me a little minute, because it is kind of a large book. I didn't realize, or didn't really remember it being this long. Like, 600 and some odd pages is kind of crazy. I should have known. I mean, like, it's a chunky book when you look at it, but I just remember flying through this. But it took me a solid week to get to read it cover to cover again. Yeah, I don't know. What else do you say? So, with that, I'm gonna wrap this up here with my cozy Christmas pillow, my cozy Christmas blanket. Well, with that, thank you for watching if you made it this far. Thanks for bearing with my kind of disjointed and very long vlog. I hope your current read is treating you well. I hope that you are liking it. I hope it's a 5-star. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.